talking with the Chief Minister, and this week you've been making interesting comments about planning, really, and how it's not gone right. And I find this quite strange because you don't normally do this sort of thing out loud to the media. I thought there'd be a lot of banging of heads going on behind the scenes, but you made an actual point saying that you've gone wrong on a policy.
Yeah. Well, what I've said is that the strategic plan for the island has not been functioning the way it was originally intended when it was brought in 2007. This has been around a long time. It's not just this current government, it's been around for a number of years. My concern is first of all, my top priority obviously for the last 3 or 4 years has been to rebalance government's budgets. Now, it's been a painful process. It's been a bit erratic in our approach, but we've got there. We've now rebalanced the budget. That's the important thing to lock in. We have now got to seriously focus on developing the economy, on expanding or energising the island generally, government, the business community, the community at large, to recognise that we have now to move on and put a foot on the accelerator, and planning is absolutely integral to getting new investment into the Isle of Man.
Examples, what has gone wrong?
I'm not talking about specific applications.
Well, I've heard of them. I mean, this is something you've there's big things that were hopefully happening, didn't get the planning, and they decided not to proceed with their works. Is that how we're summing this up without naming names?
There have been 1 or 2 plans lately which have gone wrong, but it's a more general comment I'm making at the moment. It is vitally important that planning recognises it has a role to play in economic development. Now, that the next few years will be very challenging for the Isle of Man. The economy is doing well. We're in our 30th year of unbroken growth. Currently, we think the economy is growing between 3 and 4%. But that can change very, very quickly. We are heavily dependent only on 1 or 2 sectors in the economy. E-gaming, for example. I'll be quite honest, if it wasn't for e-gaming, the chances are over the last few years the Isle of Man probably would have been in recession. It's the contribution that one sector has made which has kept us on the right side. It's employed a lot of people. That may not last. Other sectors are maturing. Banking, we will be seeing changes in the banking structure over the next few years. Other areas will come under pressure. UK is a fiercely competitive neighbour now, whereas before it was relatively passive. We have got to recognise that we've got to get back in the marketplace. We've got to sharpen up our procedures.
But planning is there to do the job, and you want now to put a political person back in charge of it, which could therefore steamroller something through.
No, it can't. No? Traditionally, there's always been a political chair of the planning committee. It's only the last 12 months that we've experimented with a non-political
experimented,
chair.
Is that how you can call it now?
Well, we went to see how it would work. Well, I believe whilst there are clear guidelines that the planning committee has to work within, and I don't want to interfere with those in any way at all, there needs to be a realisation within the planning department at officer level and at committee level that they have a role to play in stimulating the economy, and that I would like them to be more constructive, more creative in trying to facilitate this development, because if we fail, and I hear that there have been 1 or 2 schemes lately which have sadly run into problems, but I get a constant stream of complaints from people who are trying to set up new businesses on the Isle of Man to invest in the economy, invest in the community, are being blocked by either red tape, lethargy, or just a total failure to recognise the importance of investment in the economy.
So the Isle of Man, where you can, you can't.
It is getting perilously close to that, I have to say. And the feedback I get on a regular basis from would-be investors into the Isle of Man is you've got this wonderful sales pitch, you've got this wonderful track record, but actually when it comes to be tested, you're found wanting, and we're not delivering the way we should be doing.
This is staggering that you're saying this, because this is you. I mean, as I said back from the beginning, you'd have done this all behind the scenes. You're going public. You're gunning now for this sort of. I mean, did it lose a lot of jobs? Are we talking about hundreds of jobs?
I don't want to be specific on this. All I'm saying is we have lost many economic opportunities. I'm not going to name the names because it would be embarrassing, and I don't want to. And
they've gone, have they? And you've had an earache.
I have, and I'm still getting it. And indeed, this very morning, I've had 2 emails approaching profound frustration at government for not assisting them to invest substantial amounts of money which will generate jobs in different parts of the island.
So you put a political person back in charge there, which would be someone that you can have words with if necessary. Is that how it would work?
No, I believe a political chairman would be in a stronger position there to explain what government policy is. It's quite clearly it's not getting through presently. We have tried on a number of occasions over the last 4 years to indicate to the planners that we need their engagement with the economic process. It is vital. The whole island will benefit from it.
Who benefits in the sense, is it someone that wants to bring in people to work and therefore creating jobs, or can someone come down and want to build a skyscraper because it's going to employ people in that industry? I mean,
no,
how's it going to work?
It's at all levels. I'm not talking about concreting over the island. I'm not talking about trampling on people's rights. That's as far from my mind as possible. We have got to cut through the bureaucracy. We've got to cut through the red tape. Government employees, whether they're ministers right down to the frontline staff, have got to realise we're there to serve the public. We're there to help facilitate the growth in the economy. We're there to help facilitate job creation for our young people who leave school, who want to stay on the island. We are there to try and make profitable business which will generate the revenues to pay for public services. And that so often is forgotten when we become jobs worths and are hidebound by red tape as an excuse for not doing anything.
How do you change this?
I have already initiated a number of discussions across government this week, and we are working on a number of ideas which I hope will re-energise government, will improve the offering that the Isle of Man can present to would-be investors for the future, and will stimulate further expansion and growth in the years ahead.
You have to fire some people by sounds of it. Get rid of them, or what are you going to do? Move them?
I'm not saying we need to fire them at the moment. What we need to do is fire and reignite their energies and their understanding of what they need to do and what their role in life is.
So right here and in other media, you're banging the heads together very publicly, and you're basically saying, look at this again. Is that what,
Yes.
So the same people might actually stay where they are, but they will now have to look at things from a different angle.
Yes. If we don't, clearly we will be looking at their positions very closely. But I'm not talking about individuals at the moment. It's a culture we've got to change.
Silo mentality?
Absolutely, the silo mentality. I have done my utmost in 4 years to try and destroy that silo mentality. It's quite clear we haven't worked yet. We've still some distance to go. And that's right across government in different pockets. Some areas are working really well. They've engaged with us and are providing an excellent service to the public. Other areas are still stuck in the past and believe if they stick their head in the sand long enough, it'll all go away. It won't. The only thing that will go away is the economic growth that we desperately need for the island to survive in the future.
Okay, once again, I've got to say I'm staggered that you are being so forthright. You normally always temper everything, being a politician. Clearly, this is a big worry then, is it, for, as it stands, that if you don't get things sorted, we will lose more business?
There are challenges on the horizon at the moment. You've got an election in the UK. We don't know what the outcome is. It's anyone's guess at the moment. But if Mr. Miliband comes in, on the one hand, you've got the threats that we've heard about recently. Whether they'll materialise or not, I don't know. But also, you have Labour coming in with a very clear anti-business position. The top rate of tax is going to go up. They're attacking the non-doms. They're bringing the mansion tax, which will help hit a lot of entrepreneurs and wealthy people. There's an opportunity there for the Isle of Man to capitalise on what might develop in the UK. But we also need to recognise, whether they get re-elected or not, the coalition has done a tremendous amount over the last 3 or 4 years to re-energise the UK economy. It is fiercely more competitive now, and areas that we used to be able to trade in are now being sucked in. Even things like the space industry, the UK want it all. We have a very, very strong competitor. We've got to have a proposition on the Isle of Man to compare with what they have there. Jersey this week has announced that it's got some very serious problems. It has a 125 million massive black hole in their finances.
Yes.
Now that clearly is going to cause Jersey a big headache. But we need to be aware that the only way Jersey seriously will be able to get out of that problem is becoming more competitive themselves and chasing every bit of business to try and grow their economy to provide the revenues to get through this. We have competitors on all sides. The European, the EU economies are just bumbling on. They're barely in growth at the moment. So we're not getting growth out of that. It could conceivably slip into recession very quickly. there's a volatile situation still around us, and the Isle of Man has got to be alert to that.
Are you more worried than you have been recently then? Do I gather that from this conversation? Is there some big news that's going to break?
No, there's no big news. I'm just reviewing what's going on around about us at the moment. I'm reviewing government's performance. I believe we are in danger of slipping into neutral after the...
You're choosing your words very carefully again here. Now we're back to this sort of thing that you're not going to tell us. Something is going to happen.
No, nothing's going to happen. There's no big bomb ticking away underneath us. What I'm trying to do is break out of the lethargy that exists in some areas, the complacency which exists in government, in the business community, and indeed the broader community, that this economic growth can go on forever. It can't unless it gets a fresh stimulus. And now is absolutely the right time. We've got our finances more or less back in balance again. Yes, we still have work to do. We still have to keep the screws on, but we at least have some stability now financially. The next drive has to be to re-energise economic activity. As I say, I've had a number of meetings this week. They will continue across government over the next few weeks to get people to refocus on how they can help business and the economy grow, which will provide, as I say, the jobs and the finances we need for our community.
Banging heads together.
Banging heads together.
Well, I've got you. I just thought that. Should we do a quickie?